In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished into a Russian mountain range and never came back the same way they left. Their tents were found slashed open from the inside, as if something outside terrified them enough to cut their way out barefoot into freezing temperatures. Investigators found footprints in the snow leading away from the camp, but no signs of struggle, no signs of another person. Some bodies were found with crushed skulls and chests, yet without any external wounds, like they had been hit with immense pressure. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Soviet officials closed the case, blaming an unknown compelling force, a phrase that still appears in the official file today. Theories range from infrasound panic to secret military testing to something far stranger. No one has ever fully explained why 9 trained outdoorsmen fled their shelter in sub-zero weather without proper clothing. This case, known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, remains one of the most studied unsolved mysteries in modern history, and researchers are still publishing new theories about it every single year. Since the 1990s, residents near Taos, New Mexico have reported hearing a low, constant humming sound that seems to come from nowhere. It is not heard by everyone. Roughly 2% of the local population claims to hear it clearly, described as a distant diesel engine idling just out of sight. Scientists have brought sensitive equipment into the area, hoping to record the source, but the instruments pick up almost nothing while residents insist the sound is still there, pressing against their ears. Similar phenomena have been reported in cities across the world, from Bristol in England to Windsor in Canada, earning the general term the hum. Some researchers believe it could be linked to industrial machinery, underground pipelines, or even unique atmospheric conditions that carry low-frequency sound waves further than normal. Others suspect a biological cause, some people simply perceiving sound differently. But no consistent source has ever been located in any of these hum locations. For decades, people have lost sleep, developed headaches, and even moved away from their homes because of a sound that officially, according to instruments, does not exist. On December 5, 1945, 5 Navy bomber planes took off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training exercise over the Atlantic. They never returned. Flight 19, as it was called, consisted of 14 crew members led by an experienced instructor pilot. Radio transmissions captured before the disappearance revealed growing confusion, with the lead pilot reporting that his compasses were malfunctioning and that the ocean looked unfamiliar, unlike anything he had seen before. A rescue plane with 13 more crew members was sent to search for them, and it also vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no debris, no bodies were ever recovered from either aircraft, despite an extensive search covering thousands of square miles of ocean and land. This event became one of the founding stories behind the legend of the Bermuda Triangle, a region blamed for dozens of mysterious disappearances of ships and planes throughout the 20th century. Official investigations pointed to pilot error and equipment failure, but they could never explain why 6 aircraft and 27 men disappeared so completely that not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. In 1912, a rare book dealer purchased an ancient manuscript filled with strange illustrations and text written in a language no one has ever been able to translate. Known as the Voynich manuscript, the book contains detailed drawings of plants that do not exist in nature, star charts depicting unknown constellations, and pages showing naked figures bathing in strange green liquid inside elaborate plumbing systems. Radiocarbon dating placed the parchment's origin to the early 15th century, ruling out theories that it was a modern hoax. Some of the greatest codebreakers in history, including those who cracked Nazi Germany's Enigma code during World War II, attempted to decipher its script and failed completely. Linguists have found statistical patterns in the writing that resemble real language structure, suggesting it is not random gibberish, yet no known language matches it. Theories range from an elaborate medicinal text written in a lost dialect, to an early attempt at constructed language, to an elaborate historical prank designed to fool wealthy buyers. The manuscript now sits in Yale University's library, fully digitized and available for anyone to study, yet after more than a century, its meaning remains completely unknown. In 1997, underwater microphones designed to detect submarines picked up a sound unlike anything scientists had recorded before. It came from deep in the Pacific Ocean, was extremely powerful, and was detected by sensors thousands of miles apart, meaning whatever made it was massively loud. Researchers nicknamed it the bloop. Its audio profile initially suggested it could be biological in origin, consistent with a living creature, but far larger than any known animal on Earth, including blue whales. This fueled years of speculation online about giant unknown sea creatures lurking in unexplored ocean trenches, some linking it to fictional monsters like Cthulhu. Eventually, NOAA scientists concluded the sound likely matched the pattern of ice quakes, massive ice sheets in Antarctica cracking and shifting under pressure, a natural but violent geological event. Officially, the mystery is considered solved. But some researchers who studied the original recordings note that the sound's specific characteristics still do not perfectly match typical icequake profiles recorded elsewhere. 95% of the ocean remains unexplored to this day, and that lingering uncertainty is exactly why the bloop still shows up in mystery discussions decades later. On August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio detected a burst of radio energy so strong it was 30 times louder than the normal background noise of the universe. The astronomer reviewing the data days later circled the signal on the printout and wrote one word beside it: wow. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, lasted 72 seconds, and matched almost exactly the frequency scientists believe an extraterrestrial civilization might use to communicate, since it aligns with the natural frequency of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. Astronomers have pointed telescopes at that exact location many times since, hoping to detect it again. It has never repeated. Theories over the decades have included a passing comet releasing hydrogen gas, a military satellite reflection, or simply an unexplained natural cosmic event. In 2017, a study proposed comets as an explanation, but other astronomers heavily disputed the data used, arguing the comets were not even in the right position at the time. To this day, the WOW signal remains the strongest unexplained candidate for contact with intelligence beyond Earth ever recorded by mainstream science. On the morning of June 30, 1908, something exploded over a remote forest in Siberia with a force estimated at over 1,000 times the energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The blast flattened roughly 80 million trees across 800 square miles, yet left no crater. Witnesses hundreds of miles away reported seeing a blue light brighter than the sun moving across the sky before the explosion, followed by a shockwave that knocked people off their feet and shattered windows. Because the region was so remote and Russia was politically unstable at the time, no scientific expedition reached the site until nearly 2 decades later. By then, evidence had degraded significantly. The leading explanation is that a meteor or comet fragment exploded in the atmosphere before impact, a phenomenon called an airburst, which explains the lack of a crater. But because no fragments were ever definitively recovered matching typical meteorite composition, some scientists have proposed alternative explanations, including a cometary ice body vaporizing completely. The Tunguska event remains the largest impact event in recorded history, and experts still study it today to better predict future asteroid threats to Earth. In December 1872, a merchant ship called the Mary Celeste was found drifting alone in the Atlantic Ocean, fully intact, with sails still set, but completely abandoned. The lifeboat was gone, along with all 10 people who had been aboard, including the captain, his wife, their young daughter, and the crew. Investigators found the ship in remarkably good condition. Cargo was mostly untouched, personal belongings were still in cabins, and there was 6 months of food and water left unopened. There was no sign of violence, fire, piracy, or storm damage severe enough to force an evacuation. A single lifeboat was missing, suggesting the crew left voluntarily, perhaps fearing the ship would sink, but no bodies or wreckage were ever found afterward. Theories over the past 150 years have included mutiny, alcohol fumes from the cargo causing panic, an underwater earthquake, or a giant wave frightening the crew into abandoning a perfectly seaworthy vessel. Insurance investigators at the time even suspected fraud, though nothing was proven. To this day, maritime historians consider the Mary Celeste one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the sea, a ship that survived completely intact while everyone on it simply disappeared.